Some transfer stories I want to jump into here. An interesting take here from, I know I sent it to you guys in the group chat earlier. I know there's been a lot of talk of Victor Gyökeres to Arsenal, and maybe they're going to walk away from the Isak situation. But Isak leaving Newcastle is such an intriguing one for me because the stories don't want to go away, boys. And it's not, the player isn't shutting them down and saying, I'm staying here no matter what. Of course, Newcastle was saying he's not for sale. Liverpool and Arsenal are not stopping any conversations in the media. And David Ornstein, according to this report here, has stated that Arsenal and Liverpool both have Isak as their first choice striker target this summer, despite the steep asking price. So, and Liverpool are probably the real key components in here. They very rarely brief the media. And if they're linked to a player they know they're not going to get, they distance themselves quickly. It feels like Arsenal and Liverpool think there's a genuine chance of getting him. What do you guys think?
Champions League is key, isn't it? Really, for Newcastle, it's going to be harder. They're going to get top four, probably top four. Yeah, we're going to get Champions League, and I think if he's in the Champions League with Newcastle, it's going to be a little bit harder to dislodge him. But if you're Liverpool and you're Isak, and you have a chance to go and play for the newly crowned champions and join that project, it's tempting for sure. But at the end of the day, Liverpool, like either team's going to have to stump up the money. I think if you stump up the money, I think personal terms won't be a problem. I don't think like if they pay, say, 150 million and Newcastle go, yeah, I don't think Isak says no to either club. I don't think he goes, nah. Like, so really, I think you pay the money. They're good. It's very interesting for two clubs, Arsenal and Liverpool, who I'd be shocked to see them slapping down that level of money. But I think now FSG need to put their money where their mouth is. You know, it's time. They have the money. They didn't spend last summer, didn't give Slot a lot of money. And now this summer, you've got to show you're serious, defend that title. What a statement that would be if they went and got Isak. So, yeah, man, like I said, if they're willing to seriously spend, I think that would be a great signing. I think he would go.
They need to go and get Isak, man. They need to make a big statement because you've got Slot comes in his first year. You know, a lot of us didn't know anything about this guy, right? He's coming in his first year, didn't spend a single penny like what you're saying, Lawless. So you've got to be able to give man, you know, the right tools right now that are going to help him retain that title, right? Because, you know, before in the era of Pep, you can argue that Klopp should have won a lot more if Pep wasn't there, but he was there. You know, right now you're looking at a new era, bro. Liverpool can make themselves, you know, still the strongest team in England. You've got Van Dijk signed on, you've got Salah signed on. Trent will leave, but to be honest with you, you can replace Trent. Like I know you're not going to get maybe the same level of creativity, but you can probably get a better defender. You can get someone who can fit into that system and help out. But they need goals from other avenues other than Salah, bro. You know, I know Gakpo was scoring, you know, quite a lot of goals, contributing and that for them, but he got injured and I think he picks up quite a few injuries here and there, Terry, as well, Gakpo. I'm not sure, but he seems to be knocked here and there and that. I think Diaz is inconsistent. Darwin Núñez, we know this guy's probably going to go Saudi. So they need a striker. They need a striker, bro. And for me, Isak will definitely be a really good way for them to show that they've got real belief in Slot and they want to back him. They want to retain the title. You know, one thing I really hate about the last few years of Roman's time is when we won the league, the recruitment after that wasn't good. And that's why Chelsea in the end ended up, you know, scraping top four, just about getting top four, you know, falling out of it the year after. I even forgot about that, bro. Falling out of it, you know, and not really competing against Pep. Chelsea have not competed once against Pep, bro. And that's because our recruitment weren't great. So, bro, Isak will be a massive statement for Liverpool, man. I think they've got to make that happen.
I actually don't agree with any of you guys. I don't think he's leaving Newcastle. I don't think it makes sense. I'm gonna really question Newcastle as a club, and as their ownership and their ambition. If they sell Isak, because I'm trying to relate it to the closest thing we've seen to this, and I think the closest thing we've seen to this was Manchester City, obviously in 2008, and their takeover. And I can't remember exactly what year was Aguero, as an example, went there. I think it was like maybe 2011. It was his first season. Anyways, I just never saw a scenario where, as they were building a team at that time, are they going to start selling their Agueros and Yaya Torres and Silvas to their competitors? Because
that's pre-FFP though, Staffy, man. It's pre-FFP.
No, I hear that point. I don't know if Newcastle are in FFP trouble though. If they are, then that chases
No,
the
but I
combo.
think if they want to seriously invest, they may have to generate more funds to spread.
Yeah,
it
but
around.
you're not generating fund from selling a foreign player, anyways. The best way to generate funds is to sell your academy players. Chelsea kind of showed us that was the way over the last 2 years. Because look at how much money they generated from selling
What did
homegrown
they pay
players.
for Isak? Do you know
Was that
how much did they pay for Isak? I can't
75?
remember. 75. So I guess they'd make double their money if they went.
No, they'll make a lot more because like on the books right now, Isak's value is not 75. On the books is a lot less because obviously they paid a lot of his wages. So his worth on the books is a lot less than that. So anything they would sell him for, they could sell him for the 75 again and still make a profit, according to FFP. But that's not point. That's not the point I'm making. I think the thing with Newcastle is I think they're ambitious. They want to become a regular top 4 team. I think they want to become a regular competitor for trophies. And I just don't see how that aligns, if you sell Isak, how that aligns with that ambition. Especially that you're not selling, don't get me wrong. If they sell him to Madrid, if they sell him to Barca, I'll be like, you know what? I get that. These are 2 clubs that we've always seen over the years that they have more than regular pull on any player in the world. A lot of players like to go to La Liga and play under the Spanish sun. They always know they get far away in Champions League. That is different. For Isak to move in the Premier League, I'll just really question it. It just doesn't make a lot of sense for me. If they sell him, I'll automatically put him outside the top 4 or top 5 next season. Because you're going to sell him to a competitor. You sell him to Arsenal. Arsenal are already getting a guaranteed top 4 spot. You sell him to Liverpool, they're already guaranteed top 4 spot.
Yeah, but with PSR and that, like what Lawless is saying, obviously I don't know Newcastle's finances in and out, but if a team puts the right amount down, they will definitely consider it, bro, because that's a lot of money to go and get 2-3 players that will replace what. Hold on, Staffy. Yeah, you've got the likes of Mbeumo. Now what they're saying here, he's scored nearly 20 goals this season. You've got Delap. You can add to that as well, right? You've got Ollie Watkins that could be bought from Aston Villa as well.
Yeah, so but you're not doing that. If that's your club, you're not doing that.
Let me land my point, Staffy. You can come in, yeah. They're not Isak, but if you bring in 2 or 3 of these sort of players, you're replacing those numbers that ultimately
I disagree. I completely disagree. Because if Chelsea right now just swap the name Newcastle for Chelsea, and I tell you, Don, I'm gonna give you a chance to sell Isak for 150 million, hypothetically speaking, and you're gonna sign about 3 players with that money, you would say no, because I know you well enough that you're gonna trust your recruitment to get. It is easier to find Mbuemos and Delaps in the market for cheap than it is to find an Isak. Because I think easily we can all say that Isak this season is top 2 strikers in the league. And when it comes to the best strikers in the world right now, I think he's in a conversation for top 5. He has to be. I can't think of 5 better strikers based on this season than him. He might not have the scoring rate of Haaland, but the guy scores in big games, assists, dribbles, does everything across the front 3. We all regard him as a top 2 Premier League player, a Premier League attacker this season. I don't see a scenario if any of our clubs had Isak, would we say sell him so we can generate money for PSR? You don't do that.
Yeah, but that's different though, man. You're talking about a Newcastle team that have been taken over by these Saudis that are trying to bridge that gap, but they are pretty handicaed because PSR doesn't allow this.
But they're getting a lot of money from making Champions League.
Hold on, Steph. That's what I'm saying. That's the key point I'm getting to, right? Champions League is going to be the major factor for Newcastle because that's going to be a little bit of leverage for them. If they don't have Champions League football, and obviously Liverpool, they've won the league, and you're looking at, financially and at the books, we need to make sure that they're looking even healthier. They'll consider it, bro, in my opinion. They'll consider it. I think if they get Champions League football, then it can be a little bit, tougher. He might look at it and say, "Oh yeah."
I think Staffy's right about Newcastle here. I think the one as in they are not going to want to entertain this on any level, and I think that. And that's absolutely right. The thing for me is,
Terry, you don't want to entertain. Just before you come in, right? You don't want to entertain much with Manu right now, right? But financially, if the right offer is made, reluctantly,
no players.
Hang on, guys.
That's the point that I'm making, though.
Yeah,
I think I'm reluctantly, bro.
It's not even about reluctantly. I get your point as well. I think that stands up. I think it's about Isak. I know he's saying things in the public eye like, I want to be a legend, I love it here, this club's great. And he probably means that to a certain extent. He leaves if his head is completely turned. If he is desperate, I need to become a Liverpool player. Newcastle to sell him. That's the part of the conversation which I think seems to be missing a lot. If Isak is, I'd like to go, but I'm very happy to stay. If that's his kind of general demeanor, then he ain't leaving because Newcastle will never sanction it. It's the work that the work that Liverpool and Arsenal have got to do is they have got to completely convince the player to almost push for the move, probably without damaging his relationship in case it falls apart. That's the way they get him out of the football club, because I just don't see Newcastle budging in any other way unless Isak is saying, I need out. That's it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, Terry. That's where the leverage of Champions League football comes in, right? I think, bro, Liverpool, they've got an attractive project right now. Like, Arsenal have got an attractive project right now. They're a bigger club. They're both bigger clubs than Newcastle. So I don't see Isak saying, no, I want to stay here and build a legacy here. I don't really see that, bro. He's not a Newcastle born and bred guy that came through the academy and that. I think it's a different situation here, bro.
Yeah, I hear you. And Sophie says here he is happy at Newcastle and said many times he wants to be a Newcastle legend. He said it himself. Please do your research. No one, Sophie, is denying that he said these things. But I've seen players before state, I've seen players go in the press and say, I'm not leaving, I won't leave. And a week later, they're holding another club shirt. So I'm not disregarding him, but people's heads can be turned. There are people that stand on altars and say I do and sign contracts and marry people, and then they change their mind. What someone says holds a certain amount of weight, but let's not pretend like footballers haven't had their heads turned before and joined different clubs and everything else. And for me, if Isak's team turned around today to Arsenal and Liverpool and said there's not a chance in hell that I'm signing, they would just walk away. At the end of the day, and that's it. At the end of the day, if I got approached by TalkSport and they're like, we want to offer you a hosting job, if I don't want to do it, I just turn it down. They're not going to keep bothering me every week. Or maybe they'll offer me more money, right? But they would just walk away. So for me, the fact that this is what I'm saying, the fact these stories are not being completely ended, for me, it tells me there's a chance. There's also still a chance, Sophie, that he stays at Newcastle. Nobody is saying it's impossible. So if he does stay, I don't want to hear, you man said he was going to leave. No one has said 100% he is leaving. Let's be really fair about this conversation and this debate. Breaking news.